Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to each and every one of you joining us today. Every week, I have the pleasure and privilege to have a meaningful conversation with global thought leaders, authors, coaches, and corporate C-suite leaders. And today is no exception. It gives me an absolute immense pleasure and with an abundance of gratitude to have my dear friend, Marshall Goldsmith, number one leadership thinker in the world, number one leadership coach, best-selling author of 3 or more books now, and the author of several other leading leadership titles. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you this evening, Marshall. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. You're a wonderful friend. Thank you for all your support over the years.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had the pleasure of hosting several events together in the Gulf and the Indian subcontinent. Today, we're virtually connecting, and hopefully in the coming months, years, we will have a chance to host you once again in person. But we'll make the most of this valuable time we have together today. So one question I love to ask my guests, because every one of us has some sort of why, some purpose that drives us each and every day. You're in the space of sort of legacy space, but I'd love to know, Marshall, what is your why?
Well, I can look at that in the micro level and the macro level. On the micro level, my mission is to help the person listening to me right now have a little better life. That's pretty much it. And on the macro level, make a positive difference in the lives of many people as I can, either now or in the future, and the time I have left to do it.
Fantastic, fantastic. I mean, I've heard of you talk about the legacy project, Pay It Forward. Could you share some sort of some thoughts and sort of the thinking behind that?
Well, I went to a program called Design the Life You Love, and put on by a woman from Turkey, Ayşe Bursel, and she asked me, who are my heroes? So my heroes are very kind and generous people, are great teachers, Peter Drucker, Warren Bennis, Frances Hesselbein, wonderful people. She said, you should be more like them. I decided to adopt 15 people, teach them all I know for free. The only price is when they get old, they have to do the same thing. As you know, I made a little video and put it on LinkedIn. I thought 100 people would apply. Turned out over 18,000 people have applied for adoption. So now we have 300 people in the group. It's called 100 Coaches. It's just a wonderful organization. And the idea is that people help each other. You give each other as much as you can, yet there's no expectation of repayment. The only idea is you pay it forward and you help someone else.
Phenomenal. And that community has grown from strength to strength globally. So that's a fantastic initiative, which is really going to create the legacy. Congratulations, Marshall. So the one question I'd love to ask you is, what are the qualities that of the leader of the future? What would your thoughts be on that?
Well, I was asked a few years ago to do a study for Accenture where we actually interviewed young, high potential leaders for this question. Rather than asking the leaders who are already there, who are not going to be alive in the future, we asked young people, and 5 qualities came up that differentiated the leader of the future from the leader of the past. Many of the qualities of the leader of the future are similar: integrity, customer, dedication, all that stuff is the same. Yet 5 qualities are somewhat different. Number 1 is global thinking. More and more, the leader of the future is going to have to be a global thinker. Leadership used to be domestic. It used to be at the cave, at the tribe, at the village, at the country. Now it's the world. Number 2 is cross-cultural appreciation, learning that diversity is not just people within a culture, it's across cultures. Then number 3 is technological savvy. The leader doesn't have to be a technologist, yet they need to understand how technology impacts their business. Then number 4 is building alliances and partnerships. Leadership used to be much more this way, top down. Leadership in the future is going to be much more building partnerships, alliances in many different ways. And then finally, I'd say the leader as facilitator. In the past, Peter Drucker said, the leader in the past knew how to tell. Leader in the future knows how to ask. Why? Today, leaders manage knowledge workers. A knowledge worker knows more about what they're doing than their manager does. Well, people know more than I do. I can't tell them what to do and how to do it. I have to ask, I have to listen, I have to learn. So those are 5 qualities that differentiate the leader of the future from the leader of the past.
Fantastic. Thank you. All of those resonated with me. One in particular was definitely the one about, where you're definitely building partnerships, collaborations, and strategic alliances. I think that's something which is invaluable now more than ever. So thank you so much, Marshall. We know that the last 12 to 18 months, we talk of living in times of change and times of uncertainty. I mean, the last 12 to 18 months has definitely been speed of change and uncertainty at the highest level in our lives, for sure. How do leaders, deal with the speed of change and uncertainty?
Well, I think it's very, very important to do a few things. And one that, the Bhagavad Gita, I think, provides some great guidance on this. Leading in tough times. There's something I call pragmatic optimism. First, you need to be pragmatic. You need to deal with the hard reality that's there. You can't sugarcoat things and just give motivational speeches. A leader has got to say, here's the reality that exists today. And sometimes it's tough. Now, in the Gita, we had a great example. We had two choices, a bad choice and a worse choice. Sometimes you have to deal with a bad choice and a worse choice. You just have to make the best choice you can. So the first thing is pragmatic. The second, though, is optimism. The leader needs to be positive and focused on what we can do, not what we cannot do. So the balance of pragmatism and optimism are kind of key. And I think very important for the leader of the future to keep people focused. Now, one thing I teach is a very simple 6-question coaching process. And anybody would like to get a copy, send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. I'll send you 6-question coaching. But the leader needs to sit down with people on a regular basis and say, 6 basic topics. Number 1, where are we going? What's the big picture? Here's where I see us going as an organization. Then say, where do you think we should be going to the direct report? Where are you going? Then say, here's where I see you and your part of the business going. Where do you think you should be going? Doing well. Here's what I think you're doing well. And then ask a question. What do you think you're doing well? What are you proud of? Then ideas for the future. Got him. I'm a big fan of feed forward. Moving forward, what ideas do you have for the future? And then I say, here's my ideas for you. And then ask a question. What ideas do you have for yourself? A great question. Question number 5, as a leader, how can I help? And question 6, what ideas do you have to help me get better? 6 basic questions. And then in between these dialogues, something called mutual responsibility. Encourage people by saying, look, I'm going to cover these basic topics with you during this period of rapid change. If you ever feel ambiguity, lack of clarity, overcommitted, I want you to take responsibility and talk to me. Because if I do my job on a regular basis and you do your job in between, there's no reason we're going to have any ambiguity or lack of alignment. And the important thing a leader needs to communicate is during periods of rapid change, question number 1, where are we going may change. And you need to be honest with people and say, here's where we're going now. I'm not going to promise this is the right answer for 10 years from now, but here's where we're going now. So people have that sense of connection. So got him. I cannot see or hear you. Well, if we're still on LinkedIn Live, this is Marshall Goldsmith, Gautam Ganglani, and Gautam has disappeared. So if you're still on our program, I will go ahead. I know some of the questions he was going to ask anyway and do my best for the next few minutes. One of the questions that he asked me is a question about how do you know training and development works? Or, how do leaders, here's a good one, how do leaders change habits and behaviors? How do leaders actually change habits and behaviors? And this is what I do for a living. The first thing is to recognize it's very difficult for leaders to change their behavior. It's very, very difficult. Why? And the more successful we become in many ways, the more difficult it is. Why? Well, I wrote a book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Any human or any animal will replicate behavior that's followed by positive reinforcement. The more successful we become, the more positive reinforcement we get, and the more we are likely to fall into what I call the superstition trap. What is a superstition trap? I behave this way. I am successful. Therefore, I must be successful because I behave this way. Wrong. Everyone I coach is very, very successful, and they behave the way they behave. And everyone is successful because they do many things right, and in spite of doing some things that probably don't make any sense. And nobody is so wonderful, there's nothing on the in spite of list. So what do I do to help leaders change behavior? They get confidential feedback from everyone around them. They pick very important behaviors to improve, and their manager agrees. If they're the CEO, the board has to approve it. And if they're not the CEO, then the CEO has to approve it. Then once they pick what they want to do better, then they talk to everyone around them. We practice something called feed forward. They have a dialogue that sounds like this. Mr. or Miss Coworker, I just got this confidential feedback. Thank you for talking to my coach, Marshall. I really appreciate it. I've got nothing to lose, and I've got so much to gain. First thing I'd like to say is much of my feedback is very positive, ethical, dedicated, hardworking, caring about the company and customers, creative, getting results. Thank you. I don't know who said what. Many people said nice things. It's very important to me. Then don't say but, say and there's something I'd like to improve. For example, I want to be a better leader. If I haven't listened to you or the other people in the past, I'm sorry. Please accept my apologies. No excuse. Now let me stop. We all make mistakes. It's okay. What should we do when we make a mistake? Apologize. And if you want to blame people, who's the best person to blame? Take personal responsibility. Let's blame ourselves. Don't blame other people. Well, then the next thing is don't ask for more feedback about the past. Practice feed forward. Ask for ideas for the future. I'd say, Mr. or Miss Colleague, I'm not going to ask you for more feedback about the past. I can't change the past anyway. Please give me ideas to help me be more effective in the future. What would they be? And then whatever the person says, just be quiet, listen, take notes, say thank you. Don't judge and critique. Then don't promise to do everything. I'd say I can't promise to do everything you and everyone said, but I'm going to listen to think about your great ideas and do what I can. I can't change the past, but I can change the future. I can't get better at everything. I can get better at one thing. And if you don't mind, I'm going to involve you and ask you to help me get better. Then involve that other person. And after you involve that other person, the next step in the process is change and then follow up. What does follow up sound like? Feed forward on a regular basis. Mr. Miss Coworker, 2 months ago, I said, I want to be a better listener. Based on the last 2 months, give me ideas on the next 2. It's been 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. Well, what happens if you do this very simple process I just described? I wrote an article. If you'd like a copy, send me an email. Leadership is a contact sport. Marshall at marshallgoldsmith.com. I'll send it to you. 86,000 people. By the way, the highest scores in the world are in India. Leaders that do this achieve positive long-term change of behavior, not as judged by themselves, as judged by everyone around them. And this is not a theory. It's a very, very well-documented statistical fact, works around the world, works at every level of management. I've never seen a company, culture, or type of industry this didn't work. So got him a very, very good question. Do you have another good question for me? What are my thoughts about transparency and vulnerability? Very, very important. Got him. One of the great leaders that you and I both love is Alan Mulally. Alan went to the Ford Motor Company. The stock was valued at $1.01. He left, it was $18.40. The stock went up 1,837% when he was the CEO. An amazing, amazing human being. And, he's a role model for transparency and vulnerability. What does he do? Every week, every one of his people stands up and says, here are my priorities, red, yellow, green. And at first, no one would tell the truth. Everyone said green. And the company was losing $17 billion. Finally, somebody said red. Alan stands up and applauds this transparency. He says, thank you for telling the truth. Alan has a great theory on transparency. There's one set of books. The board of directors sees exactly what the employees sees exactly what the management team sees. there's total transparency. And you know what? You can't make up money. You either do or don't deliver. And so every week, total transparency and vulnerability. When Alan is ever challenged, he's very careful. If he doesn't know the answer, he doesn't say, have you thought of? What about this? What about that? His answer is, I don't know. And he also is willing to say, we have a lot of experts in this company. Why don't we ask them? Now, Alan taught me something on vulnerability I just love. And that's this. Before you speak as a leader, ask yourself one question. Is there anyone else in the company can answer this question better than I can? If the answer is yes, then why am I talking? Why am I talking? Because I'll probably do more harm than I'm going to do good. One of my coaching clients was J.P. Garnier, CEO of Glaxo. I asked him, what'd you learn about leadership as the CEO of GlaxoSmithKline? He said, my suggestions become orders. He said, if they're smart, they're orders. And if they're stupid, they're orders. If I want them to be orders, they're orders. If I don't, they're orders anyway. My suggestions are orders. So what'd you learn from me when I was your coach? He said, before I speak, breathe and ask myself, is it worth it? And he said, half the time as the CEO of this huge company, what did I decide? Am I right? Maybe. Is it worth it? No. Back to Alan Mulally. This one guy says, Red, I have a problem. If Alan would have said, have you thought of, what would have happened? Yes, sir. Alan didn't know the answer. If he'd have thought, I have a suggestion, what did the guy say? Thank you, Alan. They'd run out and do the stupid thing. Well, the reality is, have the vulnerability and transparency to say, if you're a leader and you don't know, I don't know. If you're not the expert, don't talk. Got him. Good to see you.
Great. Thank you for taking on those respective questions, Marshall. Greatly appreciated. So methods is something that, we as Right Selection have brought to the Gulf and the Indian subcontinent. I'd like to hear from you, what you can share about the methods platform and how, you've got a great, leadership team of coaches there and how this is adding value to organizations. So that's just wanted to get some insights from you on that.
Well, what I like about the methods approach is really they have received input from so many of the top thinkers and coaches in the world. And what I love about it is the leaders have a choice. Every leader doesn't want to work on the same issues. So rather than saying, here are the issues you need to work on, you are given a menu from some of the great thinkers in the world. You're given a choice. It's practical. You can use it at your own speed. So, I'm a big fan.
Excellent. I mean, you've got a whole set of tools. I mean, what I've seen is it has short bite-sized videos.
Right.
And then it's like a journey that you take on respective topics with whichever thought leader that you'd like to sort of learn. Do you see this as a great value add, especially in today's times when, people are working virtually? They could watch these from the comfort of their homes, mobiles, laptops as well.
Oh, I love this. I think this is the new world. In the new world, everybody, unfortunately, I love speaking and teaching, and Gautam, you've helped me with that many times. And I love being with people live, but in the reality is sometimes I can't do that. Right. And also, realistically speaking, how many people can I talk to? Well, it's a very limited number. And this way, thousands of people can learn this valuable information.
Fantastic. Thanks, Marshall. So we haven't had the pleasure of hosting you for a live event for the last year and a half. So as we come to the close of the year, we're going to be hosting you on November 30th for a 3-hour virtual masterclass. And I just wanted to get some insights on how can leadership teams benefit from the virtual masterclass on November 30th?
Well, what I'm going to share in the virtual masterclass are 4 proven processes for change. The first one we've already talked about is feed forward, how to use this to develop yourself, how to use it to coach others, then how to use it to build a team. The second thing I'm going to talk about is stakeholder-centered coaching. Then, kind of the essence of the coaching process, it's been successfully implemented around the world by thousands of coaches. The third thing we're going to talk about is the daily question process, how you can use questions every day to improve your own effectiveness and that build engagement in others. And then finally, something called the BPR or LPR process, what I developed, building on what my friend Alan Mulally taught me, how to use this as an individual in the same way he turned teams around and corporations around, you can turn your own life around. So those are 4 things we're going to be talking about.
Fantastic. I think it's going to be really valuable for leadership teams in the Gulf and the Indian subcontinent to sort of benefit from that program. And I believe we're going to have breakouts, so they're going to have an opportunity to sort of work in sort of closed door groups and sort of discuss and learn from others as well, which is sort of invaluable. So
Right.
that's great. So let me just like to take a moment to acknowledge we have Nawoor Shamim from Mauritius with us, which is great. Hi, Nawoor. We have James Taylor. Wonderful to see how Marshall is passing on his knowledge to the next generation. Yeah, thank you, James.
Thank you.
We have Rishab Jani. The opportunity for leaders to learn from this guru are immense. I couldn't agree with you more, Rishab. It's an absolute pleasure and privilege. We have someone watching here from Tokyo. I think that sounds like our dear friend Paul Dupuis.
Oh, hey, how's it going? What a good friend. What a good friend.
Our very dear friend from Randstad. And then we have Chandra Sharma, 500 miles away from home. You don't want to miss this. Excellent. And someone from Abu Dhabi. Excellent.
Abu Dhabi. It looks like I'm going to be doing a very large project, possibly coming up in Abu Dhabi. So maybe I'd get to see you in person sometime.
That would be great. Fantastic. So Marshall, as you know, I wrote the book Breaking Bread. And this is really a meaningful conversation we're having. We've heard some of your insights and your experience in where leadership is going in the future, the kind of behavioral changes that we can make, and also some insights into the masterclass. But when it comes to breaking bread as a term, what does breaking bread mean to you, Marshall?
Well, I think what it means is just this authentic communication where you have two people whose mission in life is to support each other without an agenda, without having to prove something, to just support each other. And that's very important in today's world. In our LPR sessions, where I've been working over the COVID, Mark Thompson and I, we worked with 60 of the most distinguished people in the world. We had National Football League All-Stars. We had Pau Gasol, a great professional basketball player. We had Broadway stars. We had the head of the Olympic Committee, head of the Rockefeller Foundation, head of the World Bank, on and on. Amazing people every week talking about their lives. And they loved it. When we asked people if they want to do it again, 100% said yes. Why? People are lonely today. And given the cancel culture that exists around the world, the internet, people's criticisms of each other, one person said, I love it having a week where I can just act like a human being. I don't have to put on a show. So I think, very, very important, back to breaking bread, it's a chance to be a human being. You don't have to put on a show. You can be real in an environment where you don't have to worry it's going to be held against you someday.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Marshall. So Marshall, as we come to the close of our sort of time today, anything that you'd like to share with the audiences? What next for Marshall Goldsmith, and anything you'd like to share with the audiences today?
Yeah, my next book is going to be coming out in May. It's called The Earned Life, and it's kind of a summary of everything I've learned in life, The Earned Life, and it talks about how it's basically based on Buddhist philosophy that every time I take a breath, it's a new me. And as we go through life, we're constantly re-earning our lives. And one of the things we don't think about earning is happiness. And we often take happiness for granted. And one of the things I've learned, I work with very successful people, many of them forget to be happy. And many of them forget to have the discipline to realize they need to enjoy their lives. And it's so easy to get lost in, materialism and climbing that ladder that we can forget what's most important to me in life. And so looking at the concept of earning, it doesn't just mean earning money or earning status. Most people I work with have lots of money and they have plenty of status. It means earning respect. It means earning happiness. It means earning a good life so you can look in the mirror and feel good about the person you see.
Fantastic. I think that's a very, very timely book for you to write, Marshall, and looking forward to getting a copy and reading that. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege, Marshall, to spend this valuable time with you. Any closing words or comments you'd like to share with everyone today?
No, Gautam, it's always wonderful to work with you. Thank you very much for inviting me to talk with you, and look forward to seeing you hopefully in person sometime.
Fantastic. Look forward to staying closely connected with you, Marshall, and obviously hosting you very soon. Wishing you a very good day and all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you.